7:30, I'm going to call the meeting of the Middleton Common Council for August 7th, 2018 to order. And the first item on the agenda is the roll call.
Okay, Teal. Here. West. Kitty Cat. Olson.
Here.
Ramsey.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Richard.
Here.
Note for the record, Burke and Kuhn are absent.
Okay, thank you. So the next item is comments from the,
We have a wildcat.
well, he's still thinking of yours, right? All right, so the comments from the citizens present is limited to 3 minutes per speaker. So anybody who wants to speak? Well, all right, if we don't have any speakers, we go to the 7:32.
Yep.
Is it 7:32 or it's not quite there yet, huh?
Oh, man.
Well, we can make. Is it 7:32 with you? 7:30.
Can I ask a question while we're waiting for it to turn? Someone just remind me the difference between a Class B fermented malt beverage and Class B intoxicating liquor license. What did they have before, and what, is this a renewal of the new one, or?
A Class B with the quote marks around it
Yeah.
designates beer. Class B with the quotes around the entire phrase Class B is intoxicating liquor, and Class C with the quotes around the entire thing is wine.
Joanna, since we revoked Fitzgerald's license, they're now able to get
A full.
the full license
Right.
and not have to pay the $10,000 for, it's a reserve license?
Reserve license.
Okay.
Okay, it's 7:32, and I'm going to go open the public hearing for the Chocolatarian doing business as Chocolatarian. They are requesting Class B fermented malt beverage and Class B intoxicating liquor license.
Well, my phone was going.
They are located at 6637 University Avenue. Anybody who wants to speak? When not.
Van Nutt, Middleton Chamber of Commerce, in support of the liquor license for Chocolatarian. They've got a nice little thing going. It'd be nice to have a mimosa or a Bloody Mary or a margarita. You get the idea.
All right.
So, in support.
Thank you, Van. Anyone else who wants to speak? Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing part of this one, and this is supposed to be a presentation from?
No, it's just under the wrong thing.
Okay, all right. So we skip this one, and there's a approval of the consent agenda.
We need to act on that license approval.
Oh, we need to.
No, that's, no, but
Heading's
that's somewhere else, isn't it? So,
No, it isn't.
No,
oh, it
That's the
isn't?
point.
Just under the wrong section.
Oh, okay. So do I have a motion to,
I would move approval as recommended by L&O.
Second.
any discussion? So all those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Okay, now we move on to the consent agenda. And I guess the common council minutes, they need to be corrected. There were 6 people, and all the minutes show only 5.
Six.
Must not have counted Susan.
Yeah, so,
I bet you that's what she did.
No, she just didn't put a comma.
Yeah.
Yeah,
West
between
is on
Teal
there.
and West. Oh, and then the motions are passing
all the
5-0.
motion passed by 5-0, so, or whatever, so that needs to be corrected.
Yep.
Okay, well, I need some motion to approve with that correction.
Have to take it out as
Yes.
separate?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it separately now.
I would move approval of the council meetings as revised,
Okay,
or with corrections.
need a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. All those in favor of the approval of the common council minutes for July 17th, 2018, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one, the audit of the bills.
Move approval is recommended by finance. Second.
Okay, the motion is to approve the audit of the bills. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the proclamation. So this is, I'm going to read the proclamation now. This is the proclamation is supporting roll and stroll for pancreatic cancer research in memory of Coach Jeff Sauer. Whereas the roll and stroll event serves as a fundraiser for the Cancer Center at the University of Wisconsin-Madison School of Medicine and Public Health. And whereas pancreatic cancer is the third leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the United States. And whereas pancreatic cancer kills more people in Wisconsin every year than either breast or prostate cancer, even though it's less common, and it's estimated 73% of the patients die within a year of diagnosis. And I just tell you a story that there is someone who worked with me, Carol Wick, and she was in great shape, and she was diagnosed, and her sister is here. She was, it was shocking. She was gone within a year. So, and whereas Roll and Stroll is dedicated to the memory of renowned former University of Wisconsin hockey coach Jeff Sauer, who passed away from pancreatic cancer in February 2017. Sauer, a Wisconsin native, led UW men's ice hockey team to 2 NCAA national championships in 1983 and 1990 during his 20 years of tenure as a head coach. Coach Sauer's success led him to being inducted into the Wisconsin Hockey Hall of Fame, Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame, and the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. And whereas the Roll and Stroll event will take place on Sunday, August 12th at the Capitol Brewery in Middleton. Participants can choose from 15K or 10K bike ride or 2-mile accessible stroll. The event also includes food, raffle, games, and live entertainment from Chuck Lorenzo Band and the Randolph Star Band. Bucky Badger will make an appearance. All participants will receive a complimentary beverage from Capitol Brewery. And whereas anyone wishing to participate may register at this website. Day of registration and check-in begins at 8 a.m. with a 50K starting at 9:30 and the 10K and 2-mile stroll starting at 10:30. And the post-event celebration starting at 11:30 a.m. Now, therefore, I, Gurdeep Brar, Mayor of the City of Middleton, along with Middleton Common Council, commend the UW Carbone Center Pancreatic Cancer Task Force on their research and fundraising effort to combat this deadly disease, and hereby honor their efforts with this declaration of Roll and Stroll for Pancreatic Cancer Day in Middleton, August 12, 2018. We hope a successful Roll and Stroll event and encourage all Middleton citizens to attend on this 12th day of August 2018. And I'm told that their goal was $50,000. They're already beyond that. So,
Approval.
Second.
all those in favor of the approval of this proclamation say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. I'm going to give this to Jerry here. She's, okay, now we are on to the agreements. The first item of the stormwater management system maintenance agreement with Live Site LLC.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the stormwater management system with Live Site say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the stormwater management system maintenance agreement with Lycon Incorporated.
Approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the approval of the stormwater management agreement with Lycon say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Assignment of hangar land and lease agreement lot 41 8264 Airport Road.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the assignment of hangar land lease agreement lot 29 at 3309 Delta Lane.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the intergovernmental agreement with the city of Verona for building inspection services.
Approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Any questions? I have two questions for you, Bill. One is that, is there any likelihood of overtime? Okay. So the second is, you are charging $65 per visit. Does that cover our expenses?
According to the agreement, as I was reading earlier today, it would be, looking at the agreement under cost of services, item 6 in the agreement, Verona shall pay Middleton $65 for each instance of service provided under paragraph 2. And B, mileage is measured from the city of Middleton City Hall to each inspection site where service is provided, except where an individual inspector makes multiple inspections of a road on a single trip. Mileage between inspection sites shall be determined by actual mileage driven. Item C is any additional actual and direct costs incurred relating to service provided under this agreement.
So you feel quite comfortable with that one then?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of this approving the intergovernmental agreement with the city of Verona say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So property management agreement with T5 Real Estate Solution LLC for property located at 2413 Parmenter Street.
Move approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. There's a similar property management agreement with Pole Camp Investment LLC for the property located at 2417 Parmenter Street.
Move approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Any questions? Let's say, okay, all those in favor of this agreement say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. The next one is the agreement with SEH for design engineering services for Bristol Street and North Avenue.
Full approval is recommended by Public Works and the Finance Committee.
Second.
Any questions, any discussion? All those in favor of approving this agreement with SEH for design engineering say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the agreement with Weirbacher Associates for design engineering services for Maywood Avenue reconstruction.
I move approval.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the agreement with the International Mountain Biking Association Trail Solutions for design development of Pleasant View Trailhead.
Approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Matt is here, any questions, discussions? Okay, all those, I guess part of the money is coming from the city and then the other part is coming from REI, right? Okay, all those favor of the motion say aye. Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the annexation petition for direct annexation of Red Tail Acre subdivision 4821 County Q.
Move approval.
Second.
Any question or discussion?
Have you come to the stand, Mark? Has the issue with the access on the driveway been resolved?
In my opinion, and I think staff opinion is yes, and the county's opinion is yes.
Okay. So there were some emails late this afternoon regarding the commercial site and the developer. The commercial site's attorney said that he does not believe he has access to the driveway the developer wants to build. So that's the issue I'm talking about. Has that been resolved?
Well, I don't think their attorney is here tonight. We did have an email today from Attorney Hahn, actually came yesterday. I responded today and copied you, Alder Sullivan. It sounds to me as though they are wanting more assurance that they will have access in the future. I have a map that I prepared just before the meeting that shows how they could have access, and it's my understanding that Bill Ranget is committed to providing that access, and it can be easily done, and that will be documented in the city developer agreement. They have not demonstrated, Orchids by the Acre, or Orchids Garden Center has not demonstrated economic harm, in our opinion, at the staff level. And so I've reviewed this with Pam Dunphy at Dane County and with Sean Stowski, our city engineer, of course. And once the new street goes in, Red Tail Pass, once that goes in, the county will no longer allow access via that driveway, but there is a means by which access can be provided to Orchids by the Acres, or Orchids Garden Center. So I don't know.
Well, from the way that I read those notes, I think his concern was that he wants express right to use that street as access to his property.
And we will require that in the development agreement, which of course, at this early stage, does not exist yet.
Right.
And we're also going to insist that we be indemnified against any claims arising out of claims of inadequate access. The bottom line is that no property owner has the right to hold up a city, a county, the state of Wisconsin, in terms of exactly how they get access to public roads. They're entitled to access, period, but not how they want access to be. If the property owner feels that he has been damaged by the kind of access we provide, there's a state statute that provides that if he wants to litigate it, he can, but obviously we are not depriving the property owner of access. Now, the actual details will have to be written in the development agreement. We're not at that stage yet because we're only at the plat stage. I'm quite comfortable with the arrangement.
I can elaborate on the map I just distributed. So this is my map. This is my interpretation of reviewing all the documents since the council approved the pre-annexation agreement December of last year. The red shows the concept of Red Tail Pass being extended from North Lake south and then bending east to connect to Highway Q. The orange shows the future driveway connection, a concept for that driveway connection. What I'm showing in blue there is a parking area that could be provided to replace the, as you can see on the air photo, there's some existing parking that serves Orchids by the Acres and happens to be located on the property that Mr. Ranget has an option to acquire. That parking, the existing parking, if you look at the asphalt, that is located within that access easement. That would be entirely replaceable, as shown in blue, for example, just a concept that I came up with and Mr. Ranget is in agreement with. That would make the property owners whole. The access with the orange driveway would be coming off of Red Tail, as you can see from that curve. So the connection is, in our view, they have at least as good as access, if not better. If it were to be paved, for example, I would say that that's better access. So, and that's a detail that can be addressed in the city developer agreement, and should be.
Question.
Yeah.
Is there access for the Skolaskis?
The property owners, I don't remember which one's lot 2 and lot 3. I don't have the easements shown on there, but they are in your documents later. There's access easements that extend east from the existing, south from the existing east-west. So if you imagine the Orchids, if you see the Orchids driveway, there's easements that go south from that to serve lots 1, 2, and 3. And I don't remember which one the Skolaski property is, but they all have access rights from that future roadway. They would all have that maintained with that future roadway.
So with this proposal, everybody will be able to access?
Yeah, absolutely. It's never been in doubt.
Okay. Howard?
This is just a pre-annexation. That's an issue that you can take care of in the development agreement.
Well, this
Different kind
this
of
is the
question.
annexation.
this is the annexation, actually, yeah.
Looking at this, and I apologize, I haven't followed it like I should have. Orange is the new street, Red Tail Pass?
I didn't keep my own copy. The red, or I call it red.
Red, okay, red.
Yeah, that's just the concept of the new street. It's, if you look at your other drawings, it's obviously to scale.
And the access onto Q has been approved?
And they have issued the county has issued a permit, so they have
And right next to it is the access for acres?
So what has made this
How-
fairly difficult is that the existing driveway serving Orchids by the Acres is located within an easement, but that easement, access easement, does not actually touch the property line, which is just south of that red line that I drew. So there's a little gap between the access easement and the future right-of-way for Red Tail Pass. So that has made this a little bit more complicated. The easement will be unchanged with any action the council takes. That easement doesn't go away. The county plans to sever the driveway, will require that the driveway be severed once the new street is available.
Answered my question. I looked at this and I thought, oh my goodness, they're not gonna have an access 25 feet from the other one.
No, that's been the underlying concern all along
All right,
from
thank you.
county and city staff.
Is the city or the county gonna vacate that easement?
The easement won't be vacated. It doesn't need to be vacated.
Doesn't need to be.
It doesn't make sense for it to be there once they have their own access, but the county through their access management, and then the city, once this is annexed, it'll fall into the city's jurisdiction. We will not allow that access to be a driveway to be so close to the intersection as Alder Teal just mentioned.
Tear it up and plant flowers on it.
Yeah.
So also that easement will be in the town of Westport still, right?
That part will be, because that's outside of the area being annexed, correct. In which case, the county's jurisdiction, which applies in unincorporated areas, would take precedent over, the city wouldn't have to sever the driveway. That would be up to the county.
Any other questions? Mark, you have some more, or?
No, my concern is just that we don't get stuck here between this easement fight, right? And if you guys are satisfied that
Yeah.
that the city has no liability here, or doesn't want to, I don't want the city to get stuck in the middle between this fight here.
Which is why I indicated to Mark earlier today that not only is Mr. Rangat gonna agree to build it, he's gonna agree to indemnify us. If we get sued, it's gonna be on his nickel.
And that'll be spelled out in the city developer agreement.
So Larry, you feel quite comfortable with this thing?
I do.
Okay.
Mark, is there any other outstanding questions or concern?
Not,
I want to make sure that we all are on page one on this, because every once in a while, we get these things that say, oh, condition upon plan commission concerns. I don't like to see that, because I had no clue as to what they are. I don't listen to them.
the council minutes back on December 5th, 2017, for the pre-annexation agreement, specifically identified the following conditions that they be addressed prior to annexation. Number one, approval of the stormwater management plan. The Water Resources Commission has reviewed and approved the plans in June. Approval of access issues on Highway Q. They have a permit, we just spoke about this, in our view, staff view, that's been addressed. Number three, density, plantings, and berming of the buffer for existing neighborhoods to the north. We have a revised landscaping plan. I can provide you with a copy of that. All it does is it shows a few additional plantings adjoining the northwest side of the development, beyond what's in your packet. And number four, removal of a concept plan as part of the pre-annexation approval, which I didn't fully understand, but that's, we now have something beyond a concept plan. Right,
Approval of the
exactly.
concept plan.
Yeah, so I mean, right.
So all of the plan commission's concerns have,
This was specifically the council, which supersedes the plan commission, but the plan commission had comments as it relates to the preliminary, the preliminary plat. Annexation-wise, there are no outstanding concerns.
Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. So the motion is to approve the petition for direct annexation for Red Tail Acre subdivision 4821 County Highway Q. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. So the next one is the award of bid quote for professional services.
Gurdeep, could you just go to the ordinance change?
The ordinance.
I'm sorry. Request for rezoning for this property. It's under.
Yeah,
number
they're
3.
related.
Oh, okay. All right, so let's go to ordinances. This will be the first reading unless you waive, this is number
This
3,
one.
right?
Yeah, this one.
Number 3, request for rezoning from agricultural A1 to Plan Development District, General Implementation Plan, Red Tail Acre Subdivision, Bell Rankway 4821 County Highway Q. So,
Move approval. Second.
so do you want to waive the,
Yes.
okay, so you waive the ordinance section 1.07. So any questions? Any questions? Okay, if there are no questions, it will be, pardon me?
Still to vote.
Okay, yeah. All those in favor of this request for rezoning from A1 to PDD, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. So the bill can go home now, or is there another one here?
There's a CSM
CSM
plat.
right behind it.
Okay, all right.
Well, it's a plat, but
Okay,
same thing.
CSM plats, so number 1. Preliminary plat, Red Tail Acre subdivision 4821 County Highway Q.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions?
Mark, any concerns, plan commission comments, anything on the CSM?
No, I wrote a memo to you on August 1st, August 1st, that summarized all the minutes, provided you with copies of all the minutes from where this was reviewed, including the Public Works Committee on May 14th. Water Resources, of course, looked at the stormwater management plan, not the plat. And then the Plan Commission recommended approval subject to the following conditions, which are listed in your packet. There's about 8 of them. None of them are outside of what is normal for a preliminary plat. The access issue is a little unusual, but that is something that we, as we discussed earlier, have already feel comfortable that that's adequately addressed.
Any other questions? Mark? Okay. The motion is to approve the preliminary plat for Red Tail Acre subdivision.
I would add one thing. I'm sorry to interrupt
Okay.
you, Mayor. If you look at your plan, we do have a situation where there's a private street, a cul-de-sac, called, is that the Outlet 4? And I thought it would be worth just highlighting it here. Attorney Beckler and I talked about it earlier today, and I spoke about it with Sean Stowski. The cul-de-sac that comes off of Red Tail Pass Extended would be considered private, so not built to city standards. The reason why that evolved the way it did is because there's an existing private access easement benefiting Orchids Garden Center. And it was the city engineer's position that that easement should not be located within a public right-of-way, which I completely understand, and you know, we don't want encumbering our public right-of-way. In talking about this with Larry earlier today, I feel, and I want Larry to, if he would, please comment on this, I don't see why having a public street wouldn't address the, you know, provide full access and supplant or replace the private access easement. And I'd be curious for your reaction to that, because that is something I think would be preferable instead of having a private street next to a gravel driveway and a private easement, and not have them be planned together as one street. So I'm curious if you were...
I support Mark's position entirely. It's illogical to have them side by side, and would be preferable to have the, assuming that the Orchids property needs to get to the road at the east side of the plat by going around the property rather than just through it, why not just have them go on Road A? Makes a lot more sense.
It seems to be better planning. In the future, if the Orchids, or when the Orchids property redevelops, if somebody wanted to have lots fronting that street, they wouldn't be able to if it's a private street.
Right.
And it just seems to me not to make sense. And I think Sean agrees with this. You know, he's nodding, he's doing his bobblehead.
So do
And,
we need to sort that out now, or it can be done?
Well,
later?
I would recommend adding that as if you're so inclined, to add that as a condition of approval to work towards having a public street as part of the final plat. Is that appropriate, Attorney
Yeah.
Beckler?
Street
Okay.
A be
Yeah.
So, Mark?
And just to
Good.
clarify, this means the city, in my, what I heard you say today, Larry, is the city could have the authority to require the abandonment of that private access easement, or maybe that's not the way exactly you said it, but.
No, I did not say
Okay,
that, but
okay.
it would become useless if they had direct access to the street.
So is there, I guess restating what I was trying to say, is there any reason why having that, maintaining that private easement, if that were to remain in place beneath a public street, does that create any policy issues for the city? I guess that's.
No different from the easement continuing to exist when the county has cut off access to Highway Q. It's the same thing.
Okay. And Sean, do you agree with that, or?
I'm not up to speed on this. I'd like to think about it.
Okay. So maybe if this can be, at least I wanted to bring it to the council's attention and have that be something we continue our discussion. I didn't want to get to the final plat and not have that conversation from a planning standpoint. So I just wanted to air that here. It doesn't affect, in my view, doesn't affect how the development occurs in terms of the lot configuration and the issues that people care about. This is really between two property owners and the city in terms of building a public street.
Well, it looks like you start to talk to Larry today, so you need something to sort out. So maybe we should approve the preliminary plat now, and then you work out the other details?
If you'd like to add, just so that there's some indication of awareness that may be something that comes back to you as a public street.
Okay. Mark, is that okay with you? Or should we just approve as it is and then let's talk about that later?
Well, the motion properly, and we haven't always done this in the past, but I would greatly prefer that the motion be noted in the agenda, in the minutes as being a motion to conditionally approve the preliminary plat of the Red Tail Acres subdivision with the conditions as laid out in the staff report of August 1, 2018, plus the additional point raised by staff at the council meeting.
To reflect the
Yes.
potential for that, instead of a private street, it would be a public street for the cul-de-sac, yeah.
Yes.
Is
Thank
that
you.
okay with you, Mark?
It's exactly the way I would have phrased it.
Okay, so who, did you second it, Susan?
Fine with me. If I second, I don't remember.
Okay. Is that, well, any other questions or discussion? Otherwise, all those in favor of the motion as outlined by Larry, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So, well, motion passes. Okay, now we go back to where we were.
Board of bids and quotes, number 1.
Yeah, award of bid to Wolf Paving for Westchester Drive resurfacing project in the amount of $321,972.
Rules recommended by Public Works and the Finance Committee.
Second.
Any questions or discussions? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So they even have a sense. Request for proposal for assessment services. This is under miscellaneous.
Approval is recommended by finance.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of request for proposal for assessment services, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. Consent of collateral assignment for the TIF development agreement for Live Site LLC, High Site Project.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, any questions? All those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion,
Howard did.
and Mark's second. Okay, we are on to item number 3, consent of collateral assignment for the TIF development agreement for Cascade Development LLC, Holiday Inn Express project.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions? Okay, all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion for the Holiday Inn Express project passes. Consent to securities control agreement for the TIF development agreement for Middleton Center Phase 1.
Move approval.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. We are on to item number 5, appointment of Assistant Information Technology Director Drew Montour to be the acting IT Director through the length of Todd Foreman's medical leave.
Move approval is recommended by Personnel and Finance.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Appointment of Program Coordinator Laura Langer to be acting Senior Services Director until the new Senior Services Director commences employment with the city.
Move approval is recommended by Personnel and Finance.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. On to the ordinances. First reading, final action may be taken upon approval of the motion to suspend the rules under section 1.07. Ordinance detaching lands from the city of Middleton to the town of Springfield.
Move approval.
Second, we didn't have a map in our packet. Is this a big thing, or is it
It's a
tiny
very
parcel?
small segment, I think, I don't know how, maybe few feet.
That's something like, Sean, you can correct me, but I think between the two slivers, it's less than 100 square feet, right?
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Ordinance to amend the ward boundaries in the city of Middleton. So Mark gets another ward. So need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Now, do you want to suspend the rules, I suppose, or, I mean, I don't think anything else is happening.
I'll suspend the rules
Okay.
to go to final reading.
Okay. All All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously.
Yeah, Dan.
We are on to the resolutions. 2018-33, declaring intent to assess costs of improvement for Westchester Drive resurfacing.
Move approval.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, including Elder Teal, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously, I think. The next one is 2018-34, supporting a grant application to the Wisconsin Office of Energy Independence for a 7 community collaboration on energy planning.
Move approval.
Second.
Now, I don't know if somebody can answer it. This $435,000 bill, maybe, is it just for all 7 communities, or it's just for Middleton?
No, it's all 7.
All 7?
I'm pretty sure.
All 7? Okay. Okay, any other questions or discussion? All those in favor of this motion supporting the grant application to the Wisconsin Office of Energy Independence, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. 2018-35, Wisconsin Active Together Initiative.
I'll move approval and recommend that this resolution also be shared with the Parks Committee and the Pedestrian Bike Committees.
Okay.
They know that we've done this, just to.
Need a second.
Second.
Okay, any questions or discussion? And it's going to go to those 2 committees. All those in favor of this motion, Wisconsin Active Together Initiative, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. Item number 4, 2018-36, defining the terms of cash advance and donation between tax increment District 3 and 5.
I'll
Go
move
ahead.
approval as recommended by Finance, which excludes the
Donation.
donation. So it's just
The,
2.6.
yes. Need a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
My only question is, by excluding that, and I don't have any issue with excluding that, but does that do anything practically to making advances for projects that we may be considering?
No, there's nothing precludes any additional advances. All it does is just say that we're not ready to make a donation at this point in time. So remember, this is just a source of funds. If there's a project that comes through, then we would have whatever normal source of fund sourcing that would be typical of TIF financing, either from another TID or from borrowing.
Since we have the TIF money, that's where we will go, so. Perhaps. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. 2018-37, approving the issuance of TIF revenue bonds for Middleton Center Phase 1 amended.
Move approval as recommended by Finance.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Okay, we are adjourned.